In the last few years, U.S. colleges have seen the number of applications from China soaring through the roof. China sends more of its students to the United States than any other country in the world, therefore dominating the international student body in the U.S. Our goal is to discover the reasons behind Chinese international students' decision to study in the United States, specifically at Davidson College, therefore showing the difference between the cultural education norms between China and the U.S. We believe that Chinese students came to America for a less restrictive and more open education. Chinese international students, as witnessed at Davidson College, can also interact freely with other students who share the same interests. In this iMovie, we will provide the statistics to show the rise in Chinese international students in American schools in the past few years. Interview current Davidson students who are Chinese international students, and prepare several news articles that explain the reasons behind the Chinese flock to America for a college or university education.
Over the past 5 years, from 2007 to 2012, most of the growth in international enrollments has come from China, while the numbers from the other top 10 sending countries have remained virtually flat. In 2009, Chinese international students enrolled in U.S. colleges and universities made up about 1/6 of international students at all fields of study. Most of China's international students enroll in the university's engineering programs. In 2010, China's international students soared from about 100,000 to almost 160,000, making up more than 20% of America's international students in colleges and universities. Last year, statistics showed that the number of Chinese international students in colleges and universities jumped by 40,000 students, making up 25.4% of America's enrolled international students. Where in China are you from?
I am from Beijing.
Have you had any prior education in America?
Yes, I've had kindergarten to 3rd grade here in Virginia.
What were your main motivations for applying to a school in the U.S.?
Mostly because I wanted to study social sciences, and China doesn't have as good social sciences as America does.
Did you apply to any colleges in China?
No, I did not.
Was it difficult for you to decide to go to a different country for college?
Not really. It was my plan all along, so...
Has anyone else in your family come to the U.S. for school?
Yes, my dad was here for his graduate school, and my cousin is currently here doing undergraduate.
Do you find the American culture to be easily adaptable?
Yes.
Do you feel as comfortable here as you did or do in China?
I feel more comfortable here than I did in China because the people are just more nice, especially to strangers.
Do you plan on staying in the U.S. after college?
I'm not sure, but I would hope to go to Europe or maybe return to China.
Do you find Davidson to be as inclusive as you expected?
Davidson is a lot more inclusive than I expected.
How long do you think it took you to become accustomed to a new culture?
I'm still getting accustomed to it, but mostly it took the first 2 weeks to a month or so, and I'm still needing to get used to everybody asking how are you, what's up, and yeah.
Where in China are you from?
I'm from Hong Kong.
Have you had any prior education in America?
Yes, I went to boarding school in Claremont, California.
What were your main motivations for coming to school here?
One of the first main motivations definitely looking for a better education, because the boarding school I was applying to was definitely a better school compared to the education I was getting in Hong Kong. But also I really like it in America because of the hobbies and things that I like and stuff that I do, like baseball, basketball, sports, and music. I play blues, so that's really what made me want to come here.
Did you apply to any colleges in China?
No.
Anyone else in your family come to the U.S. for school?
No, I'm first generation.
Do you find the American culture to be easily adaptable?
Definitely, because I didn't really go through like a culture shock or anything.
So do you feel as comfortable here as you did in China?
Definitely, I make closer friends in the States, especially like going to boarding school, so I'll say even more comfortable.
Do you plan on staying in the U.S. after college?
It really depends on whether I want to go to grad school or I get a job offer from home in Hong Kong or here.
Do you find Davidson to be as inclusive as you expected?
Definitely, Davidson's a really inclusive community. It's like a small, private boarding high school.
How long do you think it took you to become accustomed to a new culture?
Coming to the States, going to California wasn't really a huge change for me. So I wouldn't say there was like a culture shock, but definitely like the daily lifestyle really changed because I don't have my family with me. I don't have like my sisters at home. But having friends around me really helped. So I'm really used to the dorm life. So making the transition to college from high school wasn't really a big change.
CNN Opinion provides us with the details of China's passion for education, as even Chinese parents will sacrifice almost anything for their child's education. The Chinese view American institutions as the highest of achievements, as they represent freedom, individualism, and self-improvement. Chinese students see American colleges as a way to develop their confidence, initiative, commitment, and active learning. In China, failing the college entrance exam meant the end of the world. However, many students goofed off after admission into colleges. Liu, a Chinese international student, saw Chinese colleges as boring and pure memorizing, whereas schools in the United States are places of studying. Adjusting to the American system was not a big problem for Chinese international students. The biggest hurdle was the language barrier. Gu and Yuan, two Chinese international students, saw American universities' emphasis on student responsibility as learning advantages, as professors help students develop their individual power. In China, studying is only for exams, so all you have to do is just practice instead of learning. Chinese students saw American universities as an opportunity to enjoy life while still learning something that's useful in society. Many Chinese seek higher education that will train them to become creative and independent, and the Chinese see that the world's top-ranked universities are in the United States. Many Chinese students come to America very early, as the Chinese see American education as a way to escape the intensive Gaokao in China. In China, you would put the Gaokao in the center, whereas in American education, you put the student in the center, and everything serves the best interests of the student. Recently, the U.S. brought American education to China, as U.S. campuses cannot fully support the demand of all the Chinese students. American universities established degree-granting branches in the form of international baccalaureate and A-level education in China. With the increase in Chinese international students enrolling in American universities, many Americans still make noticeable the negative stereotypes of Chinese students, especially with the YouTube postings by an Indiana University and UCLA student of "Why I'd Hate to Be Asian" and UCLA student "Rant on Asians." The survey conducted at Indiana University asked the Chinese international students reasons for studying abroad, their current social lives, and their attitudes towards Americans. According to the survey, Chinese students stated that they had few to no American friends and rarely participated in sporting events or extracurricular activities. They often spend their free time in Chinese student associations or Chinese Christian events. Chinese international students at IU cited possible political differences between China and the U.S. as being responsible for the underlying tensions between the two groups.
Chinese education mostly all about just studying, memorizing the cold facts, rather than the American education. It's more like they leave you to learn things for yourself. They want you to try things out and be more independent, I think.
16-year-old Stephen Ree goes to school in Beijing, but has come to Johns Hopkins for an engineering course at the Center for Talented Youth. They also want exposure to what they see as a more flexible type of education only available in the U.S.
The public education system in China is more competitive. Here, there's more of a collaborative nature, and the classroom atmosphere is a lot more relaxed. You see, there are only 15 people in the class, whereas in China, you have 40 people in a class.
The idea for these Chinese students is to take the best of their Chinese education, add the best of an American education, and come up with something that's better than either on its own.
We'll do